Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it is indeed a privilege to have you on tonight, and also to have Corporal Kester Finnell of the St. Catherine North Community Safety and Security Branch. I had the privilege of meeting with him and doing some walkthroughs in some of the communities as the police. I really want to applaud the police, our local police here in Spanish Town, really policing with a difference and trying to be the difference and make the difference and to bring transformation, to bring hope. Because I want to submit to us that a lot of the issues that we're with our young men in particular there's a hopelessness. There is a sense of hopelessness and, not now go on. And so the police, they are really trying to change that narrative. And so it behooves us as the Christian community to really support them in every possible way, and primarily to pray up the police, pray up the police. And so tonight, Corporal Finnell, who is attached to the St. Catherine North Community Safety and Security Branch, he has been serving this organization for over 11 years. He is the communication coordinator, neighborhood watch coordinator, a safe school officer. Really, and those are very important. A safe school officer is also a mediator and a corporate communication liaison for the division. Corporal Finnell is a person who aims to see the youth of this country develop into the best version of themselves, and he is committed to doing his part in making this a reality. And so we certainly can relate to that, and as a church, we are similarly engaged in that way, in a holistic way as well. While the police do the physical work, we are involved in the spiritual aspect. And so without further ado, let me present to you tonight, Corporal Finnell. Welcome, sir. And the floor is yours at the moment.
All right, so good night to you, Pastor Mason, and good night, congregants who are joining us virtually tonight. I want to say first, thank you for inviting me, and it is certainly my pleasure to come and present to you tonight. And, as you said, I wish that there were more persons here to receive this information, because, you are one who has already been privy to hearing what is about to be presented, and we understand and we both appreciate the importance of this information, especially for a time like this. It's the Yuletide season, and I hope everybody's hearing me. Everybody's hearing me well?
Well, I am. I suspect everybody. Persons, you can indicate with the raise hand if you are hearing.
Wonderful.
Yes, I see. Yes,
right.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Right, so I'm saying, with the Yuletide season that we are in now, from what we know, history has shown us, or the past has shown us that, criminals tend to target persons more frequently during this time period, because a lot of persons are out shopping and doing business, and, they present prime targets for criminals. So the aim and the purpose of this presentation that I'm about to show is to help persons, to educate persons on how it is that they can actually make themselves a harder target, and to make their homes and their businesses harder targets for criminals. It's not just for the Christmas period, it's all year round. All right, so it's about making yourself a harder target. Everybody's now seeing my screen?
Yes, I am. I suspect that we all are. Yes, indeed.
All right. So the title of my presentation is My Safety, My Responsibility. And this is a statement I want every single person to adopt. My safety, my responsibility. Never forget that your safety begins with you. Your safety starts with you. It takes into account your thoughts, your actions, your choices. All of that affects your safety, and everything begins with you. So what is safety? And it is defined as the condition of being protected from or unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. And it tells us that we are being protected from something. So safety is being protected from something, and it is also being unlikely to cause danger, because persons can pose risk to other persons. So I can pose a risk to somebody else just as much as somebody can pose a risk to me. So safety takes into account the risk that both parties would pose to each other, or something would pose to anybody else. So what is personal safety? Now, your personal safety is a general recognition and avoidance of possible harmful situations or persons in your surroundings. And now those two words that are highlighted, recognition and avoidance, are two very critical words, very important words for us to pay attention to, because you have to first recognize that there is danger in order for you to be able to avoid danger. And avoid means you can either run away or you can do something to do away with that danger. All right. So there are five requirements that are necessary for our safety. Now, the first is that we must plan. You must have a plan of action. We cannot wait until we find ourselves in dangerous situations, then we are trying to figure our way out of them. That is a very dangerous situation. We have to try and implement some thoughts in our heads. It's what you call training your brain. You kind of play some scenarios in your head. If I find myself in this situation, what would I do? And you formulate a plan in your head, and you remind yourself of that plan over and over, and soon it sticks, so that if you find yourself in that situation, you already know what you had planned to do. So you must have a plan of action. You must be aware. And just let me say, if throughout this presentation anybody wants to ask a question or give a comment, please feel free to use the raise hand application that is available. And Pastor Mason, I'm going to ask you to please, I'm using a tablet, so I will not be able to see if persons have their hands raised. So I'm going to ask you just to indicate to me while I'm going along if somebody has a question or a comment. And you can also pay attention to what's happening in the chat. Right. So as I was saying about awareness, you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to remember that all five senses play a role in your safety. All five senses, So it is about being able to see what is happening around you, to being able to hear what's happening around you, being able to smell the things in the air that give you a certain signal that tells you something is wrong. You need to be able to even taste what is happening. And certainly you need to be able to feel what's happening. So all five senses play a role. And what we have to remember is that whilst we're out there walking in our surroundings, we don't have eyes in the back of our heads. So if we are facing one direction and there is probably somebody coming up behind us or something coming behind us, usually the first thing that's going to alert us to the presence of that individual or thing is what? I just want somebody to open their mic and tell me. You can't see what's behind you. So how would you know something is there?
Oh, you're asking a question?
Yes, I'm asking a question.
Well, you can oftentimes you can sense somebody's presence.
Sometimes you can sense the presence. But what if you didn't sense it? Because using that sense, we're talking about our sixth sense now, what we call our sixth sense. But what if you can't see it? How would you know that somebody's there? What other sense would come in play? All right, let me help you. You might hear the person coming. So you might hear the footsteps. You might hear something approaching behind you. And so that tells you that there's something behind you. It doesn't have to be behind you too. It could be in the bushes. And so you recognize that all of your senses play a role. What if you go home one day and you know your house is fully intact and everything just as you left it? But when you walk inside of that house, you smell an odor that smells like gas. What does that indicate to you? I just want somebody to respond. Anybody, just open your mic and respond.
And there could be a gas leak.
Wonderful. That there could be a gas leak. So you can't see it, you can't hear it, but you smell it. And so we realize that there are things that give us hints about danger. And if all our senses are not in tuned, then we might miss some of those signals, those signs that are telling us that danger is imminent. Now, a lot of persons, whilst they're walking out there, they tend to have their earphones plugged in. They're listening to their favorite song. It could be their favorite gospel song. And trust me, they turn it up loud because they want to feel the music just as much as how they're hearing it. And what they do is that they are, without knowing it, putting themselves at a disadvantage to knowing when something is happening. Being able to hear the danger approaching is important, because if we can't see it, the next best thing is for us to hear it. So a lot of persons are walking, and I've seen it where somebody has literally stepped out into a moving vehicle, and it's only the mercy of God why they did not get hit down. All because they were walking with their earphone in their ears, listening to their music and not paying attention to what was happening around them. All right. So we have to always remain aware of our surroundings. Now, we must also be alert. And being alert means that we are in a state of mind where we are ready to respond to whatever signals we get. So we are aware of our surroundings. And, you know, something tells us that something is wrong. We must now be in a state of mind to react or to act based on that information that we would have received. And so that brings us to point number 4. We must act or react. The truth is that our bodies produce 3 major responses to fear. We have fight, flight, and freeze. Yes, this is what happens to a lot of people when they find themselves in dangerous situations. They freeze. They don't know what to do. They can't move. They can't think. They can't act. They can't do anything. They just freeze up. And so that is a dangerous response, because guess what? It means that you are incapable of doing something to avert the danger that is posed to you. Now, what about flight? Is flight a dangerous thing? Anybody? Is flight a dangerous thing?
In a plane you're talking?
When you're running from danger, it depends. It depends, because maybe you might be running, Officer Finnell, and running into the situation, you know. So it depends on knowing what is happening and where it might be happening, you know.
My audio went a while ago. You can just repeat that point for me? I didn't
I was asking if flight. I'm referring to now, because somebody asked if you're talking about when you're flying on a plane. That's not what I'm talking about at all, even though there is some danger that exists there. But I'm asking the response that our bodies produce to fear: fight, flight, and freeze. So I'm asking if flight is a bad response.
No, it's not a bad response.
No, it's not.
No, it's not a bad response. And so what a person has to understand is that a lot of times the best way to save yourself is to run from the danger that is in front of you. Run to save your life. You understand? And so a lot of times persons see fleeing from danger as being a coward. They see it as cowardice. But the reality is that for all of us, self-preservation is extremely important. And even without thinking about it, our bodies want to preserve us. And so our brains produces responses that we call them reflex actions, where we respond even without thinking. And so flight is one of those responses. And we have to be mindful about how we respond to danger. Now, how we learn about our response is by paying attention to what happens every time we find ourselves in a situation where we are posed with some form of danger. And in paying attention, we will learn to understand our response, and then we will be able to develop ways of controlling those responses. Because guess what? Sometimes, as I indicated earlier, some persons will freeze. Some persons will freeze, and that can be very dangerous for them. It can prevent them from averting the danger that exists. It can prevent them from saving their own lives. Flight is also a good response because it helps you to run away from danger, but it's still not always the most appropriate response depending on the circumstance. Fight is another response, and in fighting, what we do is we challenge whatever it is that is posing a danger to us, but still, that is not always the best response. So in understanding how we respond to danger, we will be able to then decide or try to, assimilate situations in our heads, put our plan of action in place, and then we try to control our reactions to the situations. One of the things that we have to learn to do is to remain calm. And that's one of the hardest things to do when you are posed with danger. All right, but it is something that we have to try and practice. Now, the last requirement is avert. In order for you to be safe, you must avert the danger that is posed to you. If you don't avert that danger, you are not safe. In averting the danger, you can either run away from it to the point where it no longer poses a danger to you, or you could have taken some action that allowed you to neutralize the threat that was posed to you. So therefore, it puts you now in control of the situation and you are no longer in danger. So if you have not averted the danger, you cannot consider yourself safe. I hope everybody's following me so far. Right. So I'm now going to provide you with some safety tips. We're going to talk about safety on foot, safety whilst you're conducting your cash transactions, safety whilst driving, safety at home, safety outside your home, and we're also going to be giving you some safety tips for your businesses, for those of you who may have businesses. So let's talk about safety on foot. Now, the reality is that one of the times, or the time, when we as human beings feel most vulnerable is when we are on foot. When we are driving in our cars and going about our business, we don't find ourselves looking around to see if anybody is trying to grab at us, trying to take our bag, trying to hold us up, not whilst we're driving along. Yes, it can occur whilst you're in your vehicle, but while you're driving along or going about your business, that is not one of the concerns that you have. For a lot of us, our cars are actually a safe space for us. And so when we're in our cars, locked in, going about our business, we feel safe. The only thing we truly worry about in most cases is whether or not we may get into an accident. And so we are most vulnerable whilst we are on foot. So here are some tips to help us to feel a little bit more comfortable, and as I said, to make ourselves harder targets for criminals. So first, let someone know where you are going and what time to expect you back. A lot of persons, don't like the idea of people being in their business. But the reality is that you have to let somebody in your business, preferably somebody that you are comfortable with and somebody that you trust. Because the truth is that when you leave home, there is no guarantee that you're going to get to your destination or even that you will get back home safely. Now, should in case something happens, you want somebody to know where it is you intended to go and what time you expected to get back. So that means that if something goes off track, it tells somebody that something may be wrong. And so checks can start to made, and if necessary, the police can be called into action as well. so that we can assist to help to find you. And sometimes that time that was not given up can really mean the difference between life and death. Keep your valuables out of sight and secure. While you're walking around, do not keep your valuables in the sight of people, especially persons that you don't know, because nobody walks around with the word criminal printed on their foreheads for us to see them and identify them quickly. So we don't advertise anything that we have to them. So we keep them out of sight and secure. Stay alert to your surroundings when out and about. And I did talk about alertness earlier. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Trust your instincts. And this is what Pastor Mason alluded to earlier, that, sometimes you can sense somebody coming up on you. Well, so too, you can sense when something is wrong. A lot of persons, after they have found themselves in certain situations, you hear them say, boy, a mind, it tell me, say something not gonna happen, Well, that mind that they're referring to, that is our sixth sense, our instincts. For some people, for some of us as Christians especially, we will say, boy, the Holy Spirit, they did show us something, or that we have discerned something. And so we have to learn to trust our instincts. Don't assume that because you have been somewhere before that you know what will happen this time. A lot of times, because we're familiar with places, what we do is we drop our guards when we're at those locations. We feel like we're in our comfort zone, we're in our safe space. And so we totally let go of security principles and now start to enjoy the comfort of the space. But let me advise you, don't get so comfortable anywhere that you drop your guard, not even inside of your own homes. Don't be so comfortable that you drop your guard and stop paying attention to your safety. If you are provoked, walk away. It's a smart thing to do. And as I said earlier, flight is not a bad response to fear or to dangerous situations. If you find yourself in a situation where there is some kind of dispute taking place that is likely to escalate if you stay there, then it is best for you to leave. A lot of times persons stay in those situations because of what? Ego. Some of us men like to prove how macho we are, and even some women like to do that too. And so what we do by staying in those situations, we are putting ourselves in a position where we can be harmed or where we may harm somebody, and then we have to face the consequence of a possible jail time. So we want to avoid all of that. So when you find yourself in certain situations, walk away from it. If you are drinking, know your limit. Both alcohol and drugs stop you from being in control and can cause you to make bad choices. And that is important. We have to know our limits. And I know that we are Christians in here and we will not allow ourselves to be made a mockery of because we're drunk, So I know that this doesn't apply to us, but guess what? You may know somebody that this information can help. Share it with them. Always use a licensed route taxi that you know or that is identifiable. And this is important. Taxi drivers change frequently. But guess what? Sometimes the owner of the vehicle has a specific route and they will not divert from that route. So even if it is that the driver changes, you know what won't change? The vehicle won't change and the license plate won't change. And so it is important for us to understand how necessary it is for us to note the license plate, the registration plate numbers of vehicles when we are getting into them. It is best, and this is what I always tell people, whenever you're going to go into a taxi, just type the registration plate into a little message and send it to somebody. A lot of us, are out there. We have data on 24/7. So we are always on WhatsApp. You must have somebody you can just send that message to, so somebody will know the registration plate of the vehicle that you're getting into. Never use taxis that are not licensed. If you do, You are getting into a vehicle with a stranger, and many people who have used these taxis have been victims of crime. And now we're talking about those robot taxis. One of the things that other persons don't understand is that when you take a robot taxi, if you are involved in an accident and it is brought out during the investigation that this person was using the vehicle to solicit money from people, you will not get anything from that insurance. So it doesn't matter what injury you have received. The insurance will not honor that claim because guess what? The vehicle was not being used for its intended purpose. And so it would have breached the insurance policy that is there for it. And so we have to bear these things in mind. You know, whenever every time you get into a robot taxi, tell yourself that if you meet in an accident, you have nothing to get because you're going to have to sue either the owner of the vehicle or the driver. And in a lot of cases, believe me, they don't have anything for you to sue them for. Avoid alleys and roads.
One second, officer. I see a hand up. A hand is up. So
sure,
somebody wants to ask a question. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Night, how do you identify if the car is licensed or not? Because sometimes you will see red plates, the red plate on, but you don't know how to identify if it's licensed or not, or as you're saying before. How do you identify that?
All right. How you identify quickly if a vehicle is licensed or not is you pay attention to that little sticker disc that is on the windshield. For a lot of us, we have cars. If you look on that disc on the windshield, you will recognize that there's a hole that is punched in it. Usually what that means is that at the end of that month, whichever month is punched out on it, at the end of that month, the license on that vehicle expires. That is what it tells you. The owner, however, has an additional 30 days from that time to properly license the vehicle. So that is how you know if it is licensed.
Okay.
All right.
That's the color thing that you usually have. The color.
Exactly. That it comes in different colors, and even the colors tell you the year for which it is licensed. So for this year, 2021, it is yellow. Come next year, 2022, it's blue. And there are four colors that are used, and it changes every year, and it changes in sequence. So this year is yellow. Come next year, it's going to be blue. I believe in 2023, it should be green. And then 2024, it's going to go red.
Okay.
I believe that is the pattern. So it changes every year. So for us as police officers, once we see a sticker on, because that's what we refer to it as, a sticker on a windshield, we automatically know which year the vehicle is licensed for, even without seeing the information on the disc, just by the color. Okay. You have some persons who keep multiple on their cars, however. So in this case, you know, what you do is you look for the most recent one, and you look at the information on the most recent one. Because usually the year, the last 2 digits of the year is what you will find in the center of the sticker. And then you will have the 12 months on either side of the number. And one of them will be punched out to tell you when the license expires on the vehicle.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right. So in continuing, avoid alleys and roads that are not populated or are lonely. When I was growing up, I remember I used to hear this thing: long road draw sweat, short road draw blood. The truth is that for a lot of us, especially if we're traveling on foot, we want to take the shortest route to cut the time. The reality is that it is not always the best route, especially if that route is a road that is very, lightly populated, little or nobody is there, and there is very little light. That is never a good road to take. It's best for you to stay on the longer track and get home safely than to not get home at all. And so these are just some safety tips that we can use whilst we're out there on foot. If you are walking and a vehicle pulls up beside you suddenly, quickly run in the opposite direction. And I want one bright person, just quickly tell me why you think that would work.
Because they need to reverse to turn and catch you or something like that.
Definitely so. Because guess what? As a human being, you turn much faster than a vehicle, you know. So if you're walking, going down the road and a vehicle pulls up beside you, suddenly you should turn and run in the opposite direction from where you were coming from. Because trust me, that can mean the difference between you escaping or you becoming a victim of a crime. And here is where being alert and aware comes in play. Because guess what? If you are not paying attention to your surrounding, you will not be able to see that vehicle coming. You may not even hear the vehicle stop beside you if you're not paying attention. And being alert, you have to be alert because you have to be ready to respond quickly to the situation so that you don't find yourself as a victim. And that is why being alert and aware is extremely important. As also knowing your response and being able to determine how you respond in the situation.
One little question here, sir, if I may come in. I laughed when I heard you said that because I'm thinking that you could end up being laughed at by some friends because especially nowadays where you have vehicles with the tinted glass and you can't see who is in there. And a friend may pull up beside you in a vehicle that you don't know.
Well, I better you get laughed at.
Thank you very much. Because guess what? If it is your friend's vehicle, you know, you will most likely know your friend's vehicle. But when it is a vehicle that you don't know, you cannot afford to take the risk of finding out whether it's a friend or not. Because the time that you are going to take to do that, you are giving them the opportunity, if it is not a friend, you are giving them the opportunity to do what it is that they need to do, and you will lessen the likelihood of you escaping. It is better for you to run. And when you look, you hear your friend a call out to him and I say, "I'm me, man." And then you stop and say, "Man, don't do them things, the man." Because guess what? A lot of persons play a serious joke, you know. But there's a little saying that says, "What is joke to you is death to me." And that is what a lot of persons don't understand. So it is okay. Allow them to laugh. At the end of the day, your safety comes first. You can go laugh after yourself when you realize you're safe too. You can go laugh after yourself too. But let me tell you, we cannot afford to give up our safety to other persons or to criminals. All right? But thank you very much for that input. It would be quite funny if your friend pulled up to you like that, you know, but it's also something dangerous. And I would not want my friend to pull a stunt like that with me. Trust me. Now, safety with cash transactions. And we know that at this time of the year, a lot of persons are walking around with cash because guess what? They're buying clothing, they're buying shoes, they're buying furniture, they're buying, you know, drapes and sheets and you name it. People are shopping, people are fixing up and prettying up for this time of year. But a lot of times, persons in going about their business, they don't pay certain attention to certain things. So, first of all, do not travel with large sums of cash. We are living in the technological age and online banking, point of sale transactions are available. It is best for you to walk with that piece of plastic that if somebody take it, they can't get access to the money unless you provide them it by giving them your PIN. So at the end of the day, the person can take the card, go on with the card, but at the end of the day, your money remains in the bank. And you can call the bank quickly and even deactivate that card and it becomes useless. But if you have large sums of cash working with and somebody takes hold of you or somebody robs you, then go with all of it and you have nothing. All right? So don't travel with large sums of cash on you as best as possible. Conduct your transactions at point of sale or do online. Conduct transactions via bank only, which is exactly what I was talking about. So for example, if you're going to buy a car, and I can tell you, even police officers have fallen victim to this, where they have been robbed, in going to purchase cars, as well as police officers have been killed trying to purchase cars. The latest one that I can tell you of occurred in August of this year, where a corporal was killed in Central Village. He went to purchase a vehicle from someone and he went with the money. They were robbed. He and his person that he brought with him, he brought a second with him, and both of them were robbed and killed. And so we realize that these are very dangerous times that we are living in, and we cannot take anything for granted. So if you want to purchase a vehicle, my advice to you is let the person meet you at the station, whether it is you are selling or buying. Let them meet you at the nearest police station and you conduct a transaction there. When you're going to make payments, don't make a payment in cash. Go to the bank and ask them to write a manager's check in the name of the individual that you want to purchase the vehicle from. Or if it is you that is getting the money, what you can do is you can ask them to get a manager's check from the bank in your name that you can go and change it in your own time, or you can go and deposit it straight to your account if you so choose. All right. But even in doing that kind of transaction, if you are selling, you have to be careful because you don't want a bounce check. So you have to ensure that you do your checks and balances. If it is that he gives you a check, hold on to the documents until you have confirmed that the money is in your account, and then you can hand over the documents to the person, especially the title. So, because at that time, you would have been sure that you got your money. And even if this person had the intention of robbing you of that money, they would not be able to get it because they don't have it in your possession. And so we have to be, careful, and we have to think ahead. Utilize online banking or draft checks when paying persons, which is what we just spoke about. Know the full name of the person you are doing business with. A lot of persons are doing business and the only name that they know, if it's a woman, is Miss Jane, and if it's a man, is Master Tom. You don't know if Master Tom is your real name. And so it is important for you to know the full name of the person that you are doing business with. Because guess what? Should something go wrong, you would know who it is that did the ill. And you know who it is to tell the police committed the crime. So it is important to know the full name of the person you are doing business with. Minimize the amount of persons in your cash deposit room. So for persons who are using the ATM, as best as possible, don't allow others in there with you, because sometimes your very friend can be paying attention to what is going on your screen, and behind your back, they will rob you dry. Persons have taken their card, gone to the ATM with their friends, and they're there putting in their PIN, and guess what? The friend caught the PIN. Catch it, man. Eyes good. And when the person conduct them transaction, put them card back in them bag, and then next day they realize that the card is missing. You know what happened now? You believe that somebody picked you up, when really and truly it was your very good friend who took that card away. Now, because they know your PIN, what happened? Gone with all of your money. So the reality is that there are those around us too who pose danger to us and we don't know. We call them wolves in sheep clothing. And so you have to be careful. If you don't have to allow somebody inside of the ATM with you, go by yourself. Okay? Do not expose your wallet or your purse in public. And that is important. For a lot of us, we have a lot of bills in our wallets or in our purses, and we go shopping. And we look for an item, we see it, we like it, we take out the wallet right then and there, take out the money and pay for it. Now somebody is there and just take one little glance and realize that, whoa, this person have a couple notes in their bag or in their purse or in their wallet, man. And guess what? Automatically you become a target. Not because the person knows how much money you have, but because they're seeing multiple notes. And they're hoping that, it's a large sum of money that they can rob you of. And so you don't want to do that. It is best for you, if you know that you're going to purchase an item. Usually, sometimes we have in our mind a figure that we intend to spend, what you can do is have that figure separate. So you take that and you put it aside, put it in your pocket, so that when it comes time to pay, you just pull it out and hand it to whoever it is that you're buying. So nobody sees if you have a wallet, nobody sees if you have a purse, nobody can see or know how much money you have with you because you're paying that. It is also important for you to understand that you never ever put all your cash in one place. So don't put all of the money in your wallet. Don't put all of the money in your purse. For you ladies, tuck some of it in your bosom. Because guess what? If somebody was to grab your bag and run away with it, they would be gone with all of your money. But if you have some tucked away on your person, then you still have a little something for yourself. The same goes for the wallet. So it is never ever wise to keep all of your money stored in one place when you're doing transactions. At the ATM, you have to be aware of your surroundings. And I want you to realize how many times this is coming out in this presentation because of the importance of it. Being aware. Whenever you go into the ATM, lock the door. Some of them have some bolts. Some of them have some little chains where you just slide this little thing inside. And then what it does is prevent somebody from being able to come inside of that ATM behind you. A lot of persons have gone into the ATM to conduct their transactions. And when you look, the criminal just pull the door, come in there, and the two are in there while you are conduct your transactions. And before you can say him take everything where you draw and go about in business. So don't forget to lock that door. It is extremely important. I can tell you this because it happened to me one time. I wasn't robbed. I went to the machine. I was in there conducting my business, and I only hear when the door opened. And when I turn around, it was one of my friends who just come in and him just stand up and look at me and say, "Yeah, man, you see it? Just give me all that money and done." That was all him said to me. And ever since that day, I decided that I would never allow that to happen to me again because guess what? It could have been somebody else. It could have been somebody else and it could have been a very different situation. So it is important, and that is why they are made that way. They are made for you to lock when you go inside so that nobody can come in to disturb you whilst you're conducting your transaction. Never use familiar codes for PIN, for example, your date of birth, because guess what? Those things are easy to figure out. The most common PIN that exists anywhere is somebody's date of birth. And I want to tell you the combination. Sometimes it is the entire year. Sometimes it is the month and the last two digits of the year. Sometimes it's the day and the month. And so you realize that these are very common pins that people use because they're easy to remember. But guess what? It is best for you to use something and write it down so that if you need it, you know where to find it. All right? If you are forced at the ATM to withdraw cash, comply and enter your PIN in the reverse. That is if your PIN was 1876, you would do it in the reverse, 6781. You know, when I found this information, I was trying to find out if it triggers any kind of alarm for the bank. However, you know, to date, I've not been able to get any confirmation on that. Never leave your receipt in the ATM's trash bin, and a lot of us are guilty of it.
Excuse
You have
me,
a
sir.
question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should probably find out if that does though. That
No,
reverse.
I intend to. I intend to find out. I did ask someone who works with the bank, but they were unable to provide me a response. So I do intend to find out because this is information that I researched. And so, you know, I want to know if it triggers a response in the banking system itself, because if it does, then that is absolutely important.
Yeah,
You understand?
it would be good because if it triggers, and not only triggers it, but probably displays a message that says your card cannot be used or something like that.
Exactly.
Right.
Or it
So,
might even bring up a fake balance.
right. That's what I want. Yeah.
So that is what I was trying to find out, so that I can be able to tell people exactly what it does. But not only that, this information being out there in the public like that can also be dangerous too, because guess what? If a criminal knows that this can happen if you put in your pin in the reverse, then guess what? He can also force you to ensure that you put in the correct pin.
Yeah.
So so the information being out there in the public space like that can be dangerous, and it can actually prevent persons from being safe when they do it. So I can understand why this information wouldn't be widespread for persons to get, but I do intend to clarify and provide that response for persons who would like to know. Now, as I was saying, never leave your receipt in the ATM's trash bin, and here is why. When you leave your receipt, it indicates your balance, your account balance. Now, if I walk in and I recognize that you are just coming out of the ATM, and I see that you threw your receipt in the bin, all I need to do is, if I want to know how much money you have and how much money you have withdrawn, is to look at that receipt. And right away, it tells me how much money I can get if I rob you, as well as it tells me how much money I can get if I force you to withdraw the money from the ATM. And so we are giving away important information every time we throw our receipt in the bin. It is best, if you want to dispose of it, tear it up. Tear it up, or you take it home and tear it up and dispose of it in your own garbage bin, or you throw it into some public garbage bin far away from where you use the ATM. So at the end of the day, whoever finds it, that your information would have been useless to them anyways. All right. Safety whilst driving. It is absolutely important to know the road to your destination. For a lot of us, we find ourselves going to some places and we don't know where we're going, especially when we're going there for the very first time. You know what we always want to do? Tell me.
Google.
Persons.
No, that is no.
Yeah, you
People are
ask
going to
persons
use the map.
direction,
No, you ask persons for directions. Now, when you ask somebody for direction, how do you know if the information that they're giving to you is true? You don't.
You don't.
How do you know that you're going to get to your destination if you follow the instructions that they give you? How do you know that they haven't had a friend set up somewhere waiting for you to come there when they give you directions? You don't. So the reality is that you're putting your safety in somebody else's hand. You're putting your life in somebody else's hand every time you have to stop and ask for directions to get where you are going. So that is why it is important for you to know the road to your destination. If it is that you're going somewhere that you're going to meet somebody that you are very familiar with, let that person give you proper directions, accurate directions. Let them give you some landmarks that you can look out for, so that when you see these things, at least you know that you're on the right path. And as the sister said earlier, you use Google Maps. You can use your Google Map, and that GPS will guide you to your destination. And so, these are ways how you can alleviate the need to ask somebody for destination, because really and truly you don't know who it is that you're asking. Make sure you have enough fuel for your journey. It was up to about 4 days ago, I had to go and assist somebody who ran out of gas. Here's the sad thing though. A lot of times when persons run out of gas, they run out of gas in some places where there's no gas station nearby. And so what you do is you put yourself at risk if you allow that to happen. It is advisable that if you find that the petrol in your vehicle is low, go to the nearest gas station, put enough fuel in there that can take you to another gas station. And let me tell you why. For a lot of us, we are looking for the gas stations that sell the cheapest gas, because guess what? Gas price is extremely high. And so we want to get better value for money. So if you try to drive all the way to that cheap gas station, you might not make it there. So you want to put a top up at the expensive gas station, man. Just put enough that you can get to the other gas station, and then you can go and put the rest of the petrol in your vehicle. You also have to understand that, listen, sometimes when you're going to certain places, if you run out of gas, you're running out of gas in the middle of nowhere. And so a lot of persons, you know, they take a risk. They take a risk, but it is a risk that can end in disaster if things go wrong. Whenever you park your vehicles, park in well-lit areas, areas where you can see your vehicle and where you can see if somebody is trying to tamper with your vehicle. You don't want to park in dark spaces because guess what? Darkness provides cover for criminals and you cannot see anything that they are doing once the vehicle is in the dark. Don't leave anything on display in your vehicle. Well, a lot of persons park their vehicles with tablets and laptops and phones and handbags on display, left on the car seat. Windows are not tinted. What you're doing is you're presenting items to criminals for them to try and take. And so persons have parked their vehicles. When they come back, the vehicle has been broken into and things are stolen out of the vehicle because they left it on display for people to see that it's there. And as then said, that is why you're called rubbing butter upon puss mouth. So we present them with everything. It's like we're just handing it to them. See it here. So it is important, don't leave things on display in your vehicle. If you cannot hide it under the seat, it is best to put it in the trunk. Put it in the trunk, man. Always lock your car, even if you are leaving it for a short while. A lot of persons have come out of their vehicle parked and say, boy, them just a run going in the building for 2 minutes. And by the time them come out, no car. Or something has been taken from the car because they did not lock the car door. You know, some persons find it tedious to put the key in the door, turn the key to lock it. Then they have to check all 4 doors to see if they are locked. And then when they go in and come out, they have to go put in the key, turn the key again to open the door and then to go in. A lot of persons find that tedious. A lot of us like the fact that we can just press a button and all 4 doors are locked. But guess what? When we lock those doors, do we go ahead and check to see if they're locked? Because for some cars, if the door isn't locked properly, you know, when you press that button, it's not going to lock up the door. It's not going to lock the car. And so you have to pay attention to that so we don't make those mistakes. Always keep car windows closed or only slightly open. A lot of times persons are driving or they are parked and their windows are down. And it's usually when you're probably stuck in traffic, you know, if it's not in a situation where you're parked. Because your windows are down so much, it makes it easy for somebody to just come and reach in and take something out of your car and they are gone. As well as that person might be able to reach in and open the door. And next thing you know, you are the victim of a carjacking. So this person is stealing your car. Sometimes they might force you to drive to locations. And you know, God, he knows what they might do to you when you drive there. And so it is important. Don't make it too easy for persons to get access inside of your vehicle. Keep your windows up. Keep your windows up. If you're not going to drive under the AC, just roll it down enough so that you can get some air. But you don't need to carry it all the way down. Check for, where was I? Avoid road rage. Avoid road rage. Leave plenty of time for your journey. Be a courteous driver and don't be provoked by other people's driving habits. You know, this is one of the things that causes a lot of people to not get to their destination, road rage. We are in a hurry going about our business. And guess what? The other person is just crawling along. And nothing is more annoying when you're driving and you want to get to your destination and there is somebody who just look like them a drive, them just out for a Sunday evening cruise. Nothing is more annoying than that. And so you become angry, you take more risks, you take more dangerous overtaking. Because guess what? You are trying to get around that person to go about your business. It is best if you leave out earlier so that you can get to your destination safely. It is always best to get there late than never at all. Check your vehicles for defaults before proceeding on your journey, and that is important. Check to ensure that you have enough fluid in your vehicle, in your radiator. You want to check and ensure that you have enough oil in your vehicle. You want to check and ensure that your tires are not running down. You want to check and ensure that your spare tire has air, and if you need to use it, it's ready. You need to check and ensure that you have your jack handle. You want to ensure that you have your lug tool, because guess what? A lot of times whilst we are out there, we find ourselves in situations where we need these things to change a tire, but because we don't have them, we cannot. And so we are left as sitting ducks sometimes, sitting and waiting, praying for some good Samaritan to come. That's not always good. Always check your vehicle for defaults before you go on your journey. Because when you go on your journey, you want to ensure that you are getting to your destination safely. And that is why it is important. So safety at home. Now, I was saying that, if you don't already have one, consider installing a security system. Security systems are good. They are important. They help alert you when you are away from your home of things that are not right. They also alert your security company, as well as they can even send signals to the police for some. And so it gives you an opportunity where if that alarm is triggered at home, you're going to get some response. So somebody's going to be able to check on it. Either you or your security company will be able to check to see what is happening at your home. As you can alert the police, and the police can make checks at your home to see what is happening. Safety lights that are triggered by movement. Somebody's mic is open.
Sister Shamian, you want Shocker? You want mute Shocker for us, please?
Hold on there. What Shocker?
Yes, Auntie.
All right. Hold on there. I can't see. Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so safety lights that are triggered by movement can also be useful to deter criminals. Invest in those that are solar powered. We want to conserve on our energy bill as much as possible, but it's also extremely important for us to have lights outside of our homes so that we can see what is happening out there at night. And so it is wise to invest in those solar lights that they're always going to be kept charged, because we live in a tropical condition. So there is almost always sunlight. So they will always be charged. So we have lights at night, and we don't have to worry about our light bill going up because of them. Now, you want those motion lights that are, they're triggered by movement. So if something passes under that light, it's going to come on. Now, if you're inside of your house and you recognize that the light comes on outside, that's an indication to you that there is something that triggered that light. Some movement triggered that light. It could be a person or it could be an animal. But the only way that you would know is for you to take a look. Now, by virtue of the fact that there's light outside, it means that you'll be able to see what is happening out there. So you will know if there's somebody on your premises. We call them a prowler on premises. Or you'll be able to know if it's probably a stray animal that triggered the light. And it have to be a big animal to trigger that light, because small animals wouldn't normally trigger motion lights. Never turn on your lights inside when strange sounds are coming from outside. And that is important, because a lot of times people hear sounds outside and they get up and they turn on their light. No. That's never a wise idea. When you turn on your light, you're telling whoever it is outside that you are now up, but also it provides them with the ability to see you on the inside. What you want to do is to turn on outside lights if you don't already have them. And as we indicated earlier, we encourage you to keep lights on outside your house. So once you hear a strange sound outside, you can get up and you can look and you can see what is happening out there. And you don't have to turn on your light inside. All right. All external doors and windows should be fitted with secure locks, and mortise deadlocks are recommended, especially for exits to your homes. Now, sometimes we have back doors that don't have grills on them. You want to ensure that you have good locks, locks that are hard to pick. Same goes for windows. Not all of our windows are grilled in most cases. And so you want to ensure that, you have proper locks on the windows and the door so that they don't provide easy access to criminals. Prevent sneak-in theft by locking your doors and secure your windows when inside your home or even whilst you're on the outside. Sometimes, for you ladies, you're in the kitchen cooking away and your front door is open. Now, because you're in the kitchen and you're paying so much attention to the details of that meal that you're creating inside of that kitchen, you are unaware of the fact that somebody just came inside of your house, especially if you don't have a dog outside. The same goes for us men too. Sometimes we are so busy doing something that we're not paying attention. And because our doors are not locked, then it provides access for somebody to just sneak in, take what they want, and sneak out. And so it is important when you're inside of your home doing something, lock your doors or secure your windows. Try not to leave keys in a place where they can be seen from outside your home. Be careful. Criminals often check to see if people have hidden spare keys outside their homes or put them on a string attached to letterbox. For a lot of persons, then put them under the welcome mat at the front. Sometimes they put them under the flowers spot. And as is indicated here, sometimes they tie them to a string and then they drop that key into the letterbox. And so whoever is coming now to find the key would just pull it out and they would use it to get inside of the house. But what if a criminal is somewhere nearby watching and see when you do that and then you leave? It is easy access given to that criminal. And so you don't want to do that. It is best for you to ensure that persons have a key to access your home. And if it is somebody that is coming to your home that doesn't live there, it is best for you to let them come at a time when you are available to let them inside. Don't allow persons to come to your home at odd hours where you have to be leaving your key somewhere for them to get access to your house. It is a very dangerous practice. Avoid attaching your name or address to keys. If they were lost or stolen, they could make a thief's job very easy. If you have your name and your address on your key, on your bunch of key and your key ring, and somebody finds that key, a criminal at that, you have provided that criminal with all the information and access for your address, for your home, because they have your address and they have your key. So all they need to do is turn up and do their nice free shopping. That is what it is for them. If you hear suspicious sounds outside at night, do not go outside. Call the police or your neighbor. When you call your neighbor might be able to look from inside of their home and see what's happening outside of yours and relay that information back to you. If that can't be done, call the police so that the police can come and make checks at your premises. Like I said, we refer to that as a prowler on premises. So once you call, you report to the police that there's a prowler on your premise, you give them the address and all the details that they'll ask you for, and then the police will come and make checks. Safety outside your home. Make sure that your garages and other buildings are secure. Be especially careful that any tools and ladders are locked away out of sight. I can tell you of 2 break-ins that I know of. One where a ladder was taken from a neighbor's home to get access to an upstairs section of a house, and the other where the family left 2 brooms on the outside, and when the criminals came in the night and wanted access, they just tied the 2 brooms together and put a hook on one end And because this person was sleeping with their window open and their key was on their chest of drawer, the criminals just fished out the key, opened the door, went inside, took what they wanted. And the only time that person knew that their house was broken into was when they woke up in the morning and found their door open with their key inside. That is what happened. So be sure that you don't leave things on the outside of your homes that can help criminals to get inside of them. Thorny shrubs can be added to hedges or planted under windows to discourage intruders. You know, you have a lot of those little plants that have a lot of maca on them, as we call it, thorns. You know, you want to plant some of those under windows so that persons don't get the idea that they want to come and climb into your window, because they're going to have to deal with all of those sticks that they're going to be getting. Gravel and pebbles on driveways and paths will help you to hear people approaching. I don't care how you are Catwoman and you can move silent like a ninja. If you step on that gravel, it going to make noise. And if you are inside your home and you hear your gravel making noise, it's a clear indication that something is moving on it. Now, if you have dogs, then you can assume that it's your dog. But it's also wise to check to ensure that it's your dog. But if you don't have any animal and you hear footsteps on your gravel, it tells you somebody is outside and you need to call the police. Trellises are fairly fragile, and if it is added to the
But
top
one
of
thing,
the
Officer Finnell, before you move from this gravel one, it's interesting because a lot of persons, include myself, we like lawn, you know, we like the grass over gravel. So we might have to go get rid of the grass and put in gravel.
Well, the grass doesn't help with your safety. The gravel does. The grass is for beautification. And for a lot of us, we like beautification and we don't consider security. And so for a lot of persons, these information is about unlearning some of the things that we have learned, as well as, you know, changing some of the beliefs that we have and looking at things from a different perspective.
With the changing world, we have to change accordingly.
Just like that, we have to change accordingly. As a matter of fact, can I tell you that the grass actually makes it even more difficult for you to hear anybody coming, especially the lawns, because they're so soft. When you step on them, they don't make any sound. So you realize that it can actually pose a bit of a danger, you know, if persons were to try to intrude on your home. So as I was talking about the trellises, so the trellises now are some fancy decorative, kind of like fencing, but they are very light. And usually people would put them on the top of their walls or on the top of their fences that they run. Just put it up there for decoration. Now, what the trellises do is that because they are so light, if persons want to climb over your wall or over your fence, they're going to have to be holding onto that trellis to get over. Now, if the trellis is so light, the person might actually fall and hurt themselves, or in the trellis tearing down, you might actually hear the sound and then get up to make checks. So it helps in that way. Good outdoor lighting is a great way of deterring intruders, and we already spoke about the outdoor lighting. Avoid heavy shrubs near your house. These are perfect hiding place for thieves. A lot of us live in some schemes, and these schemes have empty lots, and these empty lots are overgrown with bushes. Sometimes it's even abandoned houses and they're overgrown with bushes, because guess what? The owners for these premises don't come and clean them, and sometimes they are not even here in Jamaica. And so those bushes provide good cover for criminals to hide and lay wait us. So as best as possible, you want to clear away the bushes from those areas. I can tell you right now, I am in the middle of 2 empty lots, and both are were heavily bushed when I got here. And since I have been here, as a part of keeping myself and my family safe, you know what I do? I coordinate with my neighbors and we cut both of them. because I have one on my left, one on my right, and beside them I have two other neighbors. So I coordinate with my neighbors and we cut them. As a matter of fact, in the past couple of weeks, we have completely cut down both of them. As a matter of fact, we actually got together and got a tractor to come and push down everything, because guess what? We need to be able to see what is happening. We don't want to provide cover for criminals. And so that is important.
Yeah,
Never leave.
another question right there, officer. What is the situation with, what if you're cleaning? And because like where I live too, I had to do a lot of that, clean down people's lot. No, thankfully more persons have come in, and so is there any law that where you can be reimbursed for cleaning people's lot, or are you just have to
Yes,
clean
you
it at your
can.
own expense?
There is a law that where you can actually get reimbursed for cleaning people's lots. But here's how it works. For every time that you clean that lot, you should want to, if you have to pay somebody to do it,
Yeah.
make note of the amount, the date, and the time. And it's best to write a receipt. Write a receipt or get a receipt for the money that you have paid so that you can keep it. Because if that owner comes, if the owner comes or turns up one day, you have those receipts as proof to indicate that you have been paying to clean up this person's lot. And you can then sue them back for those monies. I want to tell you too, that in Jamaica, there is a law that it provides persons the opportunity to own land that actually belongs to other people. But here's how that works. You would have to be cleaning up the property, as well as you would have to be paying the taxes for the property for a period of at least 10 years.
Okay.
After that, you can feel free to take your tax receipts, as well as if you have receipts to prove that you have been paying to clean up this piece of property, you take them to the land agency, and then you start the process of claiming ownership of that property. A lot of people don't know that that exists here in Jamaica as a law. So there are ways that people can retrieve monies that they have spent. But here's the thing though, is if a persons who live outside or reside outside of our jurisdiction, they make it their point of duty to know certain things, you know. A lot of us as Jamaicans, we don't like to pay property tax. But if a person's overseas, they ensure that they pay their property taxes, because guess what? They are fully aware that if somebody else pays the property tax, then that person can eventually become the owner of the property, and they would have nothing to get. They would have to take that person to court, and they could very well still lose the case in court when they take them there. And so they ensure that their property tax is paid up. I can tell you that I have checked with the tax office for these two lots that are near me to find out if the property taxes are being paid. And I can tell you they are fully up to date. As a matter of fact, they have been paid in advance, because persons are aware. So it is important for us to know these things. Never leave lights burning in the day, as thieves will know that the householders are away. And this is important. If you pass a house and in the day when sun hot, light on, then nobody know they're there, because if they were there, they would have turned off the light. Now you pass it in the night and you see the light on. You pass it again the next day, light still on. Nobody is there. That's a clear indication that nobody is there. And so, you know, if it is that you're going to leave your homes, it is best if you have those solar lights, the ones that come on when it gets dark. So you have some of them, you can change the settings. So you can change them from dusk to dawn. So it comes on at night and it automatically turns off whenever the sun comes up. And so those lights are best to have, especially while you are away. It's also good to coordinate with your neighbor. If it's a neighbor that you and them share a good relationship and you trust like that, leave a spare key with the neighbor so that neighbor can go in and turn on your lights and turn them off for you as well. So you don't leave yourself vulnerable to criminals. When you're returning home, be alert. If the gate or your door has been tampered with or anything seems amiss, leave immediately, call the police, or drive to the nearest police station. I want to tell you too that whilst you're driving home, pay attention if vehicles might be traveling behind you, if you might be followed. Pay keen attention. If you see someone trying to break in, call the police or make yourself into an invisible target by stooping, kneeling, or laying flat, and shout out to the neighbors. So if you're inside your house and you find that somebody is trying to break in, get low and shout and make a lot of noise. Do not allow service personnel to enter your premises unless they are properly identified. A lot of criminals are going around now posing as people from JPS, people from Water Commission, people from Flow, people from Digital, etc. Don't allow persons into your homes unless it is that they have been properly identified. It's also important to note that these people will not send anybody to your home to do anything in your home unless you have called for their service. And so that is important to remember. If you didn't call any of these places to come and do any kind of maintenance at your home, they will never just turn up to do it. So that in and of itself should be an immediate red flag for you. When the household is going on vacation, inform your neighbors and the local police or engage a security company for cover. A lot of persons, when they live in certain communities, they don't take the time to develop a relationship with the police. But believe me, it is absolutely important. Develop a relationship with the police in your area. Get to know them. Know the numbers for the police station. Let them know you by name. Introduce yourself to them. Tell them where you live and tell them that you want to try to build and maintain a relationship with the police. If you're a part of a citizen association or a neighborhood watch, it is also wise for them to develop a relationship with the police so that you can always have the police in your corner. If you want the services of the police, you can call somebody directly rather than having to call 911 or 119 and then wait for an operator to put you through to somebody. So that is important. Try and visit premises at odd hours during the day whilst all occupants are at work. Do not encourage courier services, newspaper vendors, or delivery persons to leave things at your home when no one is there. Invest in a camera system for your home that can be monitored remotely. You don't want persons to leave things at your home because you might not get it. If you tell them that they can just go and leave it outside and you come and find it, the next owner might very well just come and take it. All right? It is important that you install some cameras where you can stay from work or wherever you are and make checks on your property. That is important. So I am going to browse through these safety tips for businesses. I don't know if there are any persons in here who own businesses. Is there anyone? All right.
I
In
think
the pipeline.
Oh, okay.
You're still there, sir? I'm not hearing you.
Are you hearing me?
yeah, hearing you now,
Hearing
you
you
just
now,
went
yeah.
down.
Okay. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So usually when we talk about business safety, we look at safety from three perspectives: internet security, employee security, and property security. So here are some tips. Internet security: limit access to your internal internet equipment to a few select employees, managers, and executives. This is important. You don't want to allow access to the hardware in your business where people can tamper with them. Give passwords only to this group of people and change internet account access passwords frequently. When you have passwords for your business, you want to change them as often as possible. That means that you don't allow persons the opportunity to hack into your system through your browser. All right? Work with your internet team to provide an adequate firewall that allows your customers to access your services. A lot of times, hackers will access business information, not necessarily for the business information, but for the information of the customers. And so you have to ensure that if you have a page, a web page, it is secured with a firewall so that persons don't hack and fish for information from your page. Be sure that your encryption is strong enough to detect if someone is trying to hack into your network through your website, and create regular backups of all your data and store them at a secure off-site location. Now, you can talk with your internet provider about providing a firewall for you that helps to secure your internet connection. For some persons, they have set up their internet connection in such a way that if somebody gets onto their Wi-Fi, they automatically know and they can kick off the person off their Wi-Fi. And so these things are important because guess what? These provide routes or avenues for access to information, and you want to limit those to unwanted persons. Now here's some employee security. Timely payment of salary to workers is important. Now you want to ensure that if you're paying your workers, you pay them on time so that they can go and transact their business in a timely manner. So you don't put them at risk of having to either go to the ATM at late hours and then having to walk at night with certain amount of cash in their person. You don't want to have them having to be shopping at certain hours that puts them at greater risk. So you want to pay them in a timely manner so that they can conduct their business throughout the day, where they can see everything and they are more comfortable conducting their transactions. Train your employees on workplace safety, the procedures to follow if something were to go wrong, and how to identify potential problems. You have to have discussions with your employees about safety. Put some protocols in place. You want to have a plan of action, as we indicated from the get-go. Have a plan of action. If this were to happen, this is what you should do. If a lot of workplaces rather have earthquake drills and fire drills, and it is for reinforcement of the protocol. So where safety is concerned, you have to have a protocol in place, and you do simulations to reinforce the protocol in the minds of your employees. Install a video monitoring system throughout your building so you know who is entering the building at all times and what they are doing. That is important for you to be able to see. Never let your employees know where the camera system picks up. And this is important. If people know where the cameras pick up and where they don't pick up, then people know how to maneuver around your camera. And you don't want that. So you don't want them to know where they pick up and where they don't pick up. You don't want them to know the boundaries or the limitations of the cameras. Institute a badge system that allows access only to employees and their guests. A badge system also can help limit access to sensitive areas of the building. A lot of places you go, you might be issued with a card that says visitor. That card is to identify you so that persons know that you are not an employee of the business. It is to indicate that you are a visitor there to someone, and so therefore you won't have access to certain areas. And that is important. You don't want to provide access to sensitive areas of the business to just about anybody. Property security. If you own your location, be sure that all cash registers are securely anchored and password protected. And once again, remember to change your password frequently. It is important for them to be anchored because guess what? On several occasions, criminals have gone into businesses and then just pick up the cash register and gone with everything inside of it. Now, you don't worry about how they go and pull it. They know exactly how to pull it. What we have seen happening in recent times too is that the point of sale machines are swapped out by criminals. Sometimes they're stolen. And it's because they can retrieve data from these machines about persons' cards and information. And so a lot of times they are swapped out, and when you believe that you are getting paid by your customer, that money is actually going to somebody else, or the customer's information is being transmitted to somebody else because the machine that you're using is not your official machine. It has been swapped out by a criminal who has programmed it to do certain things. Install silent alarms that can be triggered by employees during a robbery. And you want to ensure that these alarms are right within reach. If it is that there's a front desk that where somebody sits, you want that alarm to be there because that's the point of contact. So if it is that somebody is coming and trying to rob that place, they just touch a little button, it makes no noise, and an alert is sent either to the police or to a security company. I can tell you that at the Spanish Town station, there's a system that is set up there that is connected to the NCB bank. If a silent alarm goes off over there, the police gets that alert immediately. Consider using motion detection technology to let you know when someone is in particular areas. So you want that motion detection. So if it is that somebody goes into a certain area, you know, you have motion cameras where once somebody comes in that space, it turns and it starts to follow the person. You have some cameras too that snaps your photo whenever you enter that certain space. It also can trigger an alarm to you to tell you that somebody is at a certain location and you can make checks. All right. So motion detection technology is also very important. When you use padlocks on your outside equipment, install the locks at least 8 feet off the ground and tell me why that is. I want one brilliant person to tell me why.
It prevents the burglars from being able to apply enough force with like a hammer or something like that to break it.
All right, that's one, but that's not the one I'm looking for, but that's a good one too. Anybody else want to try?
But repeat the question, sir. I didn't catch a question.
All right. It says when you use padlocks on the outside equipment, install the locks at least 8 feet off the ground.
Okay, people know that tall.
Right. Thank you very much. People are not that tall. So it means that if they want to get access to it, they're going to have to use something to get up there. So they are going to have to get a ladder or something to stand on to reach up there. So if it is that you have like ACs on the outside, you have your cameras on the outside that you want to secure. For even water tanks, those big plastic water tanks that you want to secure on the outside of your business, you want to ensure that you put them in such height that they are not easy to reach. Remember, you know, when you leave that business place, you're going home. But you want to ensure that whatever it is that you're leaving there is still secure, even the things on the outside, because they are more vulnerable. What you want to do is, you know, most persons tend to put a grill around them and then they have a lock on the grill. It is important to ensure that you put them at least 8 feet high, so you make it difficult for someone to try to reach up there. And when opening or closing your business, place a call to the police if you observe suspicious movements, such as strange cars, persons who are acting very kind or seeking assistance, or if the place is noticeably quiet when it is usually a busy place. Those are all red flags for you. If you are opening your business and you find somebody just come and walk and help you, yes, man, we know that they are good Samaritans, but guess what? No, thank you. You were already aware of what you were doing when you went there, so you know that you don't need any help. If you're closing up, it's the same thing. And here's what a lot of persons don't know. I'm going to tell you. If it is that you intend to conduct transactions, especially transactions that that involve a lot of cash, did you know that you could call the police to have an escort? And did you know that that is actually free of charge?
Indeed. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
You're aware of it. There you go. So the police actually provides that service, but it's definitely dependent on the availability of the unit also, because, you know, you have to remember that crime take precedence over certain things. So whilst we do it, persons have to remember that it is still dependent on the availability of the police. But yes, we offer that service. So if you are going to the bank and you're going to conduct a transaction that consists of a large amount of cash, call the police. The police can escort you there. Or if you're coming from the bank, the police can escort you from the bank. And like I said, it is free of charge. All right. So if you notice anything that seems amiss, you know that this place always full of people, always noisy. And all of a sudden now that you are lock up your business, the whole place quiet. Nobody not out there. Something wrong. Something is wrong. Call the police. Now, here are just a few more important points. Know your local police station number. And I said that earlier. Know the station number. Go there, meet with the police, introduce yourself, get to know somebody there, get a number for somebody that works at that local station so that you can make contact with them if necessary. Do not engage in personal conversation with strangers. Do not share personal details with people you do not know. Keep your local police station number on speed dial. Sometimes we have family members and loved ones on speed dial. Put the police on speed dial as well. Have at least one person who you trust number on speed dial. Always have credit on your phone. You can't send please call me to landlines. You cannot send a please call me. Well, 119 is free. But if you have the police number, you cannot send a please call me to them. Have credit on your phone. If it's even just enough to make a call and say, help, I am in danger. If it's only 10 seconds you can get on the call, that can be said in 10 seconds. Make all calls before you're leaving out. Whenever you're leaving your home and you have important calls to make, especially calls that are going to need you to discuss certain things, make the call before you leave home. You don't want to be in public passenger vehicle having those conversations or walking and discussing certain things because you are still providing information to other people. If possible, walk with two phones. Ensure that one is hidden. And that is important because guess what? If it is that one gets stolen, usually nobody's going to expect you to have two phones on you. So if you have one that is hidden and one is stolen, you are still able to make a call to somebody to advise them, to the police, to a family member, whomever. Observe vehicle color, lights, or persons in places you do business. Pay attention to the people and the vehicle wherever you do business. Pay attention to license plates, the color of the vehicle. Learn the model and make of motor vehicles. It is important because sometimes that's the only description that you can give. If you are suspected, if you suspect that you are being trailed, speed dial the police or a friend and drive to the nearest police station or to a built-up crowded area. All right, that is important. Get to somewhere where a lot of people are. Do not sleep while riding on public passenger vehicles. Do not sleep. Have your exact
That's
fear
me.
for your journey. That's you.
Yeah.
Somebody said the sweetest sleep, that officer.
I mean, someone says so. It's the sweetest.
And the sweetest sleep for you and for the criminal. Or what about the taxi driver who intends to take you away?
That's true. That's
so
so
that
true.
is why it is important. Don't sleep on public passenger vehicles. Never open your handbags whilst you're in public vehicles. Because guess what? Anytime you open your bag, man, everybody I reach down in there. Looking right down in there. Ask a friend to wait for you at your disembarkment point or follow you to the disembarkment point. So if you're leaving the home, ask somebody to follow you. And if you're coming home, call ahead and ask somebody to meet you. Never discuss personal business on PPV. And I said that earlier. My safety is my responsibility. We should seek safety, aim safety, follow safety, ensure safety, teach safety, and yield safety. Thank you very much. I know it was a very long presentation. I do hope that you found it to be very informative and timely. So thank you very much for listening and for having me.
Amen.
Thank you
Amen.
so very much.
We want to thank you, sir. Very, very timely and very much in keeping with the times that we are in.